Hey everyone, welcome back to Policy Pulse. In this two-part or perhaps three or four parts episode, we'll be discussing about the higher education system in Canada. That excludes high school and other technical colleges programs. Um, I love education. I've been a lifelong learner throughout my life. So I'm still learning, and each day it's a new day, an opportunity to learn. So it's in my heart about the education system. Let's dive in and look into, from the perspective of the taxpayers, is that the money that collectively we spend, is that uh, we're getting our money's worth uh, and the value for money. So you be the judge as usual, and I'm just presenting the facts and both sides. So let's dive in. Canada spends tens of billions of dollars a year on universities and colleges. So who is actually paying for it? And as you can see, it's a lot of money. 1.7 million student enrolled approximately, and 25% of them are foreign students, and student debts is about over $29 billion. So let's follow the money and have a look what's going on here. Canada funds one of the most expensive higher education system in OECD countries. That's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, as you know, the club of the world's wealthiest countries. We do it through taxes, tuition, and student debts. And of course, some rich parents, they pay directly the tuition fee for the children, which is fine. But the money doesn't all come from one place. It comes from taxpayers, it comes from families, as I mentioned, and more, it comes from students overseas. And as you've seen previous slide, that approximately 25% students enrolled in Canadian universities were foreign students. So before we ask if the system is worth it, we need to see where the money actually comes from, and then we can able to look at the other components as we go through this analysis. Let's start with the numbers. Provinces put in 25 to 30 billion dollar a year. That's the biggest share, as you can see. The federal government adds another 15 billion dollar or more through research grants, student aid, and taxes through credit system, and all of that funds about 1.7 to 1.8 million post-secondary students across the country. And these are just approximate number. So now let's look at who is footing the bill. Provinces cover most of the operating funding. BC, Ontario, and Quebec spend the most. No surprise there. And the federal government chips in through grants, aid, and infrastructure money, as I mentioned earlier. And then there's tuition, domestic and international segment. That's the fastest growing piece. And it also the one of government controlled the least. Here is the key insight for our discussion here. Provinces cap how much a domestic student's tuition can go up each year. However, nobody caps international tuition fees. And that gap changed everything, as you will see from the profit motivation of the college and university and their hunger for money. Now let's look at the boom of student business, at least I would say foreign student business for the college and universities. In the early 2000s, international students were about 5% of all post-secondary students in Canada. Today, you'll be surprised, or maybe you may not, because you've probably seen a lot of news coverage on these topics. Today, it's about 25%. At the peak last year, and I think 2024, Canada had more than a million international students on permits at once. And in 2020 alone, over 127,000 international students graduated from Canadian schools. That number will be important, so keep eye on that number. How many graduated and what happened to those 127,000 foreign students? Stay tuned for that. So here's what matters most for our understanding of this problem that occurred throughout the years. So domestic students, they pay about $7,000 a year, and it's capped by the provinces, as I mentioned earlier. However, international student, their tuition fee runs from $25,000 to $50,000 a year or more. So that's 3 to 6 times higher, and there is no cap on it at all. International students became a financial lifeline for schools. The provinces stopped funding at the same pace. So here, provincial government basically saw the opportunity that they don't need to worry about it. They can cut the funding. At the same time, they allowed the college and university to rack up big dough. And obviously, society suffer most likely due to that policy because you didn't have enough supplies of housing, social infrastructure to accommodate all those students in the city. So rest you probably know very well, so I don't need to go any further. So let's look at what to come. There is a more simplistic look at the big picture. As you can see, now we're looking at the debt side, student debts, I mean. Canadians currently owe more than $29 billion in federal student loans. I don't believe this includes the provincial loan program. So keep that in mind that this number actually is bigger. The number is projected to pass over $34 billion within a few years. And government already expects billions of dollars in write-offs and repayment assistance and uncollectible. So as you can see that most of the taxpayers are funding this money, but it's basically mostly uncollectible. It doesn't really have any result to back up the expenditure. And you know the story. Now, it is important to look at the world and I mean the leading countries. So we are kind of comparing apple to apple. So here is some, leading countries that we can compare Canada's education system, and let's see what they have been doing. So Canada isn't the only country rethinking this problem that I'm discussing. China has cut more than 12,000 university programs since 2021. They have apparently millions of PhD holders, but there's no job. And added over 10,000 new ones, mostly in AI related, robotics, and data science related. Germany is rebuilding its apprenticeship program, and the system is around AI skills. The project up to 2/3 of AI related jobs could go unfilled by 2027. So Australia and the UK and Canada have all capped international student visas since 2025, as you already know, because of the housing pressure and other, pressure from people. Canada cut new study permits from about 300,000 down to 155,000. Again, these are just approximate number. We probably don't know the actual number that will transpire by the time we hit end of 2026. And the United States is heading into a projected 15 years decline in undergraduate enrollment starting this year. So this is the big overview, a quick snapshot of what other countries are doing while Canada is facing this challenge. So as I touched a bit about the AI in the previous earlier segment, and it's important to look at a little bit more with the numbers. So 49% of Gen Z graduates in the US say AI has already reduced the value of their degree. Computer science enrollment actually dropped 8.1% this year. That's the steepest drop of any field, even though computer science was the fastest growing major for a decade. And 40% of the employers say they expect to shrink their workforce wherever AI can do the job. The system was designed for a labor market that's already changing the shape. And it was for last century. This century, things are moving really fast. And another 5 years, we cannot even predict what would be the workforce or workplace would be. However, this is the time for government and the policymakers to make more realistic plan and turn the big ship. As you know, big ships don't turn that quickly. It takes time. So it's opportune time to start steering the ship in the right direction. And that's why my concerns are in this field that we need to rethink the overall our higher education system. So in this quick and short overview of part one of this series, um, here we land. Nobody planned this, that AI will change the workforce and the job market. Students that studied in, I guess, business and humanity courses, and now ChatGPT and other can produce reports in matter of 5 minutes. And a PhD holder, their thesis, some of the students probably used to take 4 or 5 years. Now they can basically do a thesis research done probably less than a few months. So uh, it devalued the degrees and higher education, definitely. And Canada leaned on foreign tuition and student debt to keep funding higher education. And that was um, by design, not to look at the system and asking hard question and make necessary policy changes. Instead, politicians basically ignored it and passed all the responsibility to the colleges and universities because money was coming in and nobody really cared. So in part two, we will ask what taxpayers are actually getting for the money, the actual value for the money, and whether the degrees match the jobs. So there is a two important issue here. One is the demand for the job, which are the companies who are using the labor as their input, and their input is seems like a totally disjointed, disconnected, and no communication between the two parts of those labor force um, side, which is the schools and colleges. So there has to be a better synchronicity between what is demanded and what is processed or students are developed for the type of job that's actually there and that's needed, not some hypothetical job that employers don't have any idea if they even need those. So we'll look into that more detail. So if you have any questions, just drop the line. And as usual, I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.